Welcome to Retirement Ramblings. I'm Scott, and today is day 160 on my countdown to retirement. So today, after I finished my meetings in the morning, I took my wife out to lunch at Bahama Breeze, and then I spent some time researching eSIM providers that would cover the UK, Belgium, the Netherlands, Norway, and Iceland. With both 4 and 5G capacity. Mostly 5G is what I was looking for. And most likely I'll end up going with Nomad, which provides 4G capability in, I believe, in the Netherlands and 5G everywhere else. And they also allow you to have a Wi-Fi hotspot capability. And they're running a special right now where you can get 20 gigs of data for 30 days for $22, and it covers all of those countries with Wi-Fi hotspot capability. So tomorrow my plan is to have my wife test her gaming using her current visible 4G, 5G connectivity as a Wi-Fi hotspot. Make sure that the games all play suitably on her phone that way. And then, or really I should say on her iPad, connected to her phone as a Wi-Fi hotspot. And then if that works, then I will go and purchase the eSIM, download it, install it on her phone, and get it ready to be activated so that when we take off for London, I can activate it right then, and then she'll get her full 30 days of time, even though we won't need 30 days, for her to be able to use it. That's a pretty cost-effective way of getting data to do what she wants versus me buying it on the ship or some other way. Anyway, then I checked with Boldin to see whether or not they had released their update that would cover the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, and they had. So then I reviewed the changes to the plan and how those changes would impact Boldin's assumptions and how it would then impact my existing plan that's in Boldin. And so when I looked at, and as you guys probably know, Boldin has 3 different scenarios, right? You can have an optimistic scenario, an average scenario, and a pessimistic scenario. And quite honestly, I was surprised of the impact that the new changes made. You would expect, at least I would have expected, that all of them would be better. Show I would have a better outcome, but in fact that wasn't the case. So when I looked at the optimistic changes, it basically said that my assets would appreciate by 0.5% over my lifetime, and so I'll die with basically the same amount of money that I have roughly when I retire, and that my chance of success is 99%. And that's also true whether I use current dollar or future dollar forecasts. And it shows that over my lifetime, I would end up with an average withdrawal rate of 3.1%. Then using the average scenario, which Boldin basically calculates as halfway between the pessimistic and the optimistic scenario. So you put in the pessimistic number and the optimistic numbers, and it goes from there. On the average one, it says that I will deplete approximately 81% of my assets, but I won't run out of money. And the chance of success is 86% in current dollars and 87% in future dollars. And the average retirement withdrawal rate with current dollars is 5.5%, and with future dollars is 5.4%. And again, I don't know why there's a difference toggling between current dollars and future dollars, but there is. And then pessimistic, basically I'll be flat broke when I hit age 85 for me, 91 for my wife. The chance of success is less than 15% with current dollars, and it's 2% with future dollars. And the average retirement withdrawal rate is 7.8%. So some of the assumptions that went into this, just so that, if you're kind of following along and trying to figure out, how did I come up with this? And some of these may sound low or some may say high. I had spent a bunch of time when I did the assumptions to go for pessimistic and optimistic. I pulled historical data, in some cases going back to 1900, and then in some of the ones I basically said, okay, well, let me look at it just in my lifetime. So I said, okay, from 1961 until now, what's been the actual situation? Came up with those, came up with medians, came up with averages, decided which values to use from that. But all of the numbers are appropriate for my lifetime, maybe not for yours. And again, I'm not a financial planner. All of this is totally dependent on me and my scenario. So, you do you, I'm doing me. So the general inflation rate that I'm using for optimistic, and I know you guys will disagree with this, is 4.8%. The pessimistic one is 7.61%, and the average that Boldin calculated is 6.21%. For medical inflation rate, optimistically I put 6.22%, pessimistically 10.56%, and then Boldin calculated an average of 8.39%. For the Social Security COLA adjustments, optimistically I used 2.6%, pessimistically was a flat 0, and Boldin calculated the average at 1.3%. And then for housing appreciation, I used 4.74% as the optimistic rate. I used pessimistic as down 1.2%, and the average is at 1.77% that Boldin calculated. And then for investment returns, and again, this is me, right? It's not the S&P 500 or anybody else, but optimistically, I was saying I'm going to use 6.4% for my optimistic rate. I'm going to use 3.4%, which is basically as if you were in 100% bonds, as my pessimistic rate. And the average that Boldin calculates was 4.9%. For Medicare expenses, and Boldin calculates these, not me. For me, I'm using original Medicare with a Medigap policy and a drug plan, and they're calculating my lifetime cost from age 65 until I die will be $255,703. And then for my wife, and she's on a Medicare Advantage plan, from now until she passes away, they're estimating it'll be $221,380. And then I do have long-term care insurance. We bought that a long time ago. So we currently pay $3,804 a year for both my wife and I to have coverage, and the aggregate coverage that we have for that premium is $160,600 in the aggregate per year. And so that's $73,000 to cover me if I need a long-term care a year, and $87,600 for my wife because, she needs a swankier place than I do. And then we don't have any debt. I don't have a pension. I don't have any annuities. It's just Social Security and our investments. And that's it. And then for legacy, basically the remainder of the proceeds from life insurance policies that I have on my life and my wife has on her life, will, after paying for burial, etc., will be the legacy for our heirs. And then, from a longevity point of view, again, to be super conservative, I'm using 91 as my longevity age, and my wife is older than me, so we're using 96 for her age, and that translates into approximately 12% above the Social Security actuary tables for each one of us at our current age, and when Social Security says we'll die. So that's that. Then I spent a ton of time on Boldin today looking at tax calculations and potential tax-free Roth contributions. And so one of the things that's interesting about the big beautiful bill is the federal tax deduction is $33,895 for a couple filing joint, married filing joint. And you also get a temporary senior deduction. And again, if you're looking at future dollars, it'll be $12,000 a year. And if you roll that back into current dollars, it's $11,185. But basically, in 2026, you're going to get, if you're married filing joint and you're over 65, you're going to get approximately $45,080 tax-free. So any earnings that you have, Social Security, whatever, that dividends, interest income, whatever, if it ends up being less than $45,000, you don't pay any tax, right? So for me, and that special temporary deduction for seniors goes until Trump's out of office, so it goes through 2028. And so for me, I was like, well, my wife currently gets Social Security. I do get dividends. I do have interest. When I add those three numbers together, is there any additional money that's left that I can basically do a zero tax Roth conversion with? And the answer to that is yes. So I'll be able to move, it's not tremendous amounts of money, but I mean, I'll be able to move some money tax-free from my IRA into Roth, probably over the 3-year period, maybe somewhere in the neighborhood of, I don't know, $25,000 or $30,000, something like that. We'll be able to move between my regular traditional IRA and a Roth IRA, and again, that can grow tax-free, and I won't ever have to pay. So I never pay tax on the money that went into the IRA, and I won't have to pay tax ever on the money or its growth that I can move in because of these special discounts that are part of the bill. So then I went, and as I said, I spent hours on this today trying to figure out the right tax scenario. Do I want to do Roth? Don't I want to do Roth? How much money will it save me? And so because of the age difference between my wife and she has to start doing RMDs when she turns 73, but I don't have to start doing RMDs until I turn 75 because of the way that the law is structured. So can I play financial games, if you will, and do a bunch of Roth conversions and minimize my overall tax situation over my lifetime? Because if I don't do that, I know that in the out years, when I'm, assuming that I live into, late 80s or to 90, like anywhere in the mid to late 80 period and beyond, the taxes that I would have to pay because of RMDs would be way more than I would want to. So they'd be pretty significant. So I've been playing with, a different potential conversions to see whether it makes sense or not. Now, some of the assumptions, go into, well, again, I know what I'm building my plan for my longevity, but do I really think I'm going to live that long? The answer is no. Like there's no male in my family that's ever lived past 82. So, the likelihood of me making it to 91, I think, is really slim. But, when I play all the different numbers out, I am going to try and figure out what's the best scenario for me. And Boldin gives you a chance to run 10 different scenarios. So I've got my base plan, and now I'm running other scenarios, basically stress testing the plan to see what happens in different configurations. And then, as I indicated, now that I know that all the changes are in Boldin, I'll play with it some more this weekend, and then I'll try and set up a meeting with one of the Boldin coaches for next week, or if I can't make it happen next week, then it'll be, the middle to latter part of August. But I'm definitely going to go over the numbers with them to make sure that everything I've got in there makes sense, and I'm not doing something stupid because I don't understand some part of their tool, which is highly likely that that's true. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, that's been my day. So if you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section down below, or drop me an email at myretirementramblings@gmail.com. Otherwise, I hope you have a great evening, and until tomorrow, take care.